Hello, everybody, and welcome to our crypto scam series. And we have top crypto investigator Topsy with us today from CoinStructive to talk about the next scam. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How you doing, Laurie?
I'm doing good, doing good. So let's see, what do we got going on? What scam we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, today we're talking about the SIM swap scam, I should say.
SIM swap scam. So that sounds like it has to do with my telephone.
Sounds correct.
Okay, so telephone has a SIM card, and so what does a SIM swap scam look like?
Yeah, like you rightly said, it has to do with your telephone. Everyone has a SIM in their phones. And a SIM swap is a situation where an impersonator, tries to take over your SIM, basically. So they're not taking over your physical SIM. They're actually taking over your line, which is your telephone line, which is connected to your SIM. And they do that by, going to the telecoms provider, and then claiming or impersonating you, right? They're claiming to be you. And
Wow.
then the telecoms provider believes them for whatever reasons, and then they port your line to their own SIM, basically. That gives them control over your SIM. And the goal is to receive your messages, your phone calls, and your text messages, which gives them access to your accounts where you've done 2FA using your telephone line, basically.
Wow. Now, does that happen when somebody loses their phone or when somebody has their own phone in their possession?
So your phone is typically in your possession, but what would happen is that because they've now reassigned your line to a different person, you wouldn't have network at that point in time, right? You wouldn't have connectivity on your phone. You would have your SIM, you would have your phone, it's in your hands, but it's not able to receive calls, make calls, receive text messages, or anything like that. It's not able to connect, basically, right? Someone else now has access to that number that was yours in that time. Yeah.
So that means that the telephone company has to be involved in that type of scam.
Yeah, sometimes they are complicit. Sometimes they have staff who maybe have been bribed, they've been compromised in one way or the other. And those staff would collaborate with, these scammers, this ring of criminals, to reassign your line to a different person. And sometimes it's not necessarily the case that, staff are complicit. It's just the case that the scammer has successfully claimed or impersonated you. Maybe they have your name, they have your email, they have your phone number, obviously, maybe they have your photo ID, they have something or some information, personal information about you that they're able to use to their advantage to claim that they are you, basically.
So what does that have to do with crypto?
Yeah, it has everything to do with crypto, and not just crypto, actually. It has even to do with regular bank accounts because, when you want to log into your banking app or your cryptocurrency app, your exchanges, many of these apps require you to have what they call two-factor authentication, right? 2FA, which is basically a security measure that enables you to, after putting in your password, put in another code as like the second factor authentication. So you first put in your password, and then they require you to put in a code as a second layer of security. This is supposed to be a good thing, but the problem is when you use your SIM card or when you use your telephone line, maybe by text messages or by phone calls, when you use your telephone line for the 2FA, it means that they're going to call you or send you a code by text, right?
Okay.
And if you don't have access to that line, if someone else has access to that line, then that person will receive the text or receive the code to get access to your account, basically.
Yeah, and so if somebody did SMS verification, then not necessarily are they going to get that text because somebody else took their phone.
That is correct. And I mean, lots of people don't take this seriously. They think they don't take it. Maybe they just don't know. And this is why we're having this session, right? People should know never to use their phone, never to use their telephone lines for two-factor authentication. That's a risky business. Don't trust your telecoms company. That's a big gamble you're taking with your money.
Yeah. So you mentioned 2FA verification. What is that?
Yeah, so that's a second layer security in addition to you using your passwords, right? So when you want to log into your banking app, sometimes you type in a password, but they would ask you to enter a code that they have sent to you by text. Many of us have experienced this, right, on different platforms, where they send you a code by text or they call you to give you the code, right? That's two-factor authentication using your phone, right, or using your telephone line. But there are other ways that you can do two-factor authentication, right? You can do that by using a hardware, which is like a token that you would plug into your phone, into your device, like your computer, and that would give access to you to enter that account. Or you can also use, there are other kinds of softwares that you can download, like Google Authenticator. There's also Microsoft Authenticator. These are things that are available on your Play Store or your iOS store. You can go there and download these authenticators. They are definitely better than using your line for 2FA, your telephone line for 2FA. The hardware wallets, the hardware tokens are the most secure, but if you don't have access to that, you can definitely download some software, 2FA softwares from your Play Store or your Apple iStore.
Now I use Google Authenticator, so then it's not connected with my text messages or my telephone, it's separate. And right. I keep my Google Authenticator on a different phone or on my desktop.
Right, that is brilliant, because that way, whoever has access to your phone, let's say your phone actually gets stolen, then that person doesn't have access to your Google Authenticator or your Microsoft Authenticator, whatever software authenticators that you use. There are also cryptocurrency exchanges. I know about Binance, for example. They have their own authenticator app as well. But that's a really smart move that you mentioned right now, putting the authenticator app on a different phone, on a different device, such that if you lose that device, and that device where you have it shouldn't have your banking apps or your cryptocurrency apps on it. It's totally different.
Wow. Now, do you see this SIM swap scam a lot?
Oh, we see that a lot, and sadly, it happens with crypto. It also happens with your fiat, right? But the problem, it's really difficult to get a recovery from this telecoms company. Some of them some of them would get you a recovery by negotiating a fee, or negotiating a compensation with you, right? But many times what you would get back in compensation is it's very small, it's very little compared to what you've lost. That's what we typically see happening, right? So you don't even want to be a victim of this at all. But peradventure you're already a victim, reach out to CoinStructive, and we have experts in house that can help you with negotiating a refund or compensation from these telecoms companies.
Wow. So you heard it right here, folks, from Topsy on the SIM swap scam. And I'm making sure I have the two-factor authenticator. And thank you very much for sharing this information.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to you.
Hi, I'm Chris Groshong. I'm the president of CoinStructive, and I wanted to add that we've helped dozens of SIM swap victims recover hundreds of thousands of dollars through negotiating with the telecom providers directly. So if you're interested in seeking our services, I suggest visiting CoinStructive.com and either the investigations page or on the home page, where you can click open a case, and you'll be directed to fill out a survey, and then you'll have an intake call with an investigator, and then we'll get started on your case right away. So again, if you've had a friend or know someone who's been a victim, or you yourself have been a victim of a SIM swap attack, please reach out to CoinStructive and we'll take care of you. Thanks so much. Stay safe out there.